Hello and welcome to the show. My name is David Dadakian with Eat Drink Rhode Island, and with me today is Armando Bisceglia. Did I say that right, Armando? I actually haven't said your name out loud.
Bisceglia, but that's close.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I hadn't said your name out loud before. So, and Armando owns Bacco on Federal Hill and has been in the restaurant business for many, many years. Restaurants and wine and food and all the great things we love to talk about. So it's great to have you here today, Armando. Thank you very much for doing this.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
So I'd like to start off. Tell everyone out there, where'd you come from? Where were you born and raised, and what brought you to here?
So I was born and raised in Naples, Italy. I grew up in Naples and moved to the States in '87. So I was about 10 years old. So I grew up in Jersey, and really, it's kind of where I started. Like the old movies always tell you, we lived in a house where the landlord was a restaurant owner who had a restaurant right next door. So I basically, at 13 years old, started working for a restaurant, which later on I realized it was a mob-owned restaurant. So if you remember,
entire restaurant in New Jersey, who would have known?
I know, right? And if you realize, if you ever watch Goodfellas and that restaurant scene in Goodfellas, outside of the beatings and fightings, I pretty much lived that whole entire life.
Wow.
I learned mobsters at the age of 14 than I ever wanted to. Trust me, it was wild. But honestly, it was really, in retrospect, it was really kind of what I wanted and what I needed. And I stayed there right until, Johnson & Wales called. And I came up here in 98. Outside of a couple of things, I really never left. But all honesty, I did my undergrad, I did my grad degree. Bless you. I did my grad degree, and then when I walked out of there with my degree, I was like, I am not doing restaurants anymore. I'm not doing it. I can't stand it. Like it of course, it's like, yeah. So I stuck around here. I actually was not in the industry for a while, and we're talking 2003. So I didn't do any restaurants for literally 7 years. I owned my own DJing company. Let's talk. You want to talk about something crazy? I was doing weddings. I was a wedding DJ. I was the wedding singer, which you know me by. I think you've gotten to know me. The personality is there. It fits.
I can see that.
And then in a wild goose kind of lifestyle, at the time I'd gotten married, and my ex-wife moved us down to Florida, and I was kind of like I wanted no of going into the DJing business down there because I just didn't know it, and being in Naples, serendipitously. In Naples, Florida, serendipitously, we were able to, I was able to get back in the business. And really, a specific thing happened there that really relaunched my career. And very simple, if you've ever heard of Rosso Pomodoro, which most people haven't, but if you've been to Italy in Boston and you've been to the pizzeria section with the gold ovens, mm-hmm. That's technically owned by a company called Rosso Pomodoro. Rosso Pomodoro is the largest Neapolitan pizza chain restaurants in the world. Okay. And somehow they were opening up a store in Naples, and I got connected to them, and they're from Naples. I'm from Naples. And that was it. The rest is history. That was in 2010. So we're looking almost 10 years now, and just kind of the rest was history.
Wow. Pizza business. And just sucked you back in. Nice. All right, so you're down in Florida, you're down in Naples, and what made you come back to Rhode Island?
To be quite honest, at the time my ex-wife wanted nothing to do with Florida anymore. In retrospect, there was pluses and negatives. I just always felt comfortable here, man. I say it. I accepted the job at Zuma from Naples. And I came up here. It was incredible. I came up here on a Saturday. My first day was Monday, and I'm sitting on the stoop of Zuma at 6:30 on Monday night, and I'm staring at Atwell's going back and forth, and I'm just like, it's like you fit when you fit in a puzzle. It's pretty much it is, and and I'm never been one to say that. I always believe that the neighborhood you live in, you work in, is the most important part of what you do. I wear Federal Hill very, very thick on my sleeve because I can't be who I am without Federal Hill, and Federal Hill can't be, without each other. It's a perfect marriage in many ways.
No, I could certainly see that. Absolutely. And it's amazing. So I grew up here, moved away for a while, and came back. And so to see all the changes, I mean, I remember Federal Hill as a kid, and all the colorful aspects of it, which you experienced in New Jersey, right?
As I like to call it, all the organization. Yeah, I got you.
Yes, organization. That's a good word for it. And but it makes for great stories. I mean, they're fantastic stories, and to see all the changes while I was away, and then to come back and see how it's evolved. I mean, there's still so many spectacular Italian spots, but it's basically a general restaurant spot now. It's not even, I mean, the Italian spots are still, there's a lot of the Italian American, obviously, which, was always pervasive. And there's that, I don't know if I'd call it a subset of Italian food or how you want to describe it, but, the spaghetti and meatballs, chicken parm, those sort of things, the red sauce joints. Which I lived in New York City while I was away, so there were certainly red sauce joints that I, went to all the time. But then there were the, really, and I think that's where I really first discovered it was in New York, that the true Italian cuisine, very specific to an area of Tuscany or an area of Campania, or very specific cuisines, which I think you lend yourselves, and what you do, to that, and a few other places on the Hill lend themselves to that as well. So tell me what drew you to what you do now? What drew you to your place and what you wanted to do there?
So, I was able to do certain little things while I was across the street at Zuma that were very important to me. A lot of it was based on the fact that I did I had pretty much kind of freelanced the opportunity to do different things, and these were great. The problem I always went back to was, here's the issue. The issue is I kind of believe that the consumer today is smart. This isn't the consumers of 20 years ago, David. You know that.
I agree.
So I've always said, to me, it's a double-edged sword. It's you can't be lazy in this business. And I think, and again, I'm not talking about anybody specifically. I'm just talking about what I see. You cannot be lazy in this business. You have to allow yourself to say, listen, this is what I'm projecting. 25 years ago, people wouldn't eat at a place if they didn't know what it was. Today, the internet allows you to put pictures up, and I have some of the best pictures in the area when it comes to food. Okay, that's because I have a wife who's a photographer and knows what the hell she's doing, and she knows when to take the right pictures. But again, back then, people, there's 1,000 places in the state that will serve you calamari, that will serve you chicken parm, that will serve you spaghetti and meatballs. And quite frankly, you're never going to catch me doing any of that. The reasoning why is because that's not what I ate as a kid. Right. And this is a very important, and I think you were like trying to pluck at it when you were talking. But again, at the end of the day, you have to be specific. We are not Italian American. There are two of us here on this road, right next to each other, that do not do.
That's a very good point. Yeah, Umberto's is a good example as well.
Yeah, that do not do Italian American, because quite frankly, that's not who we are. So my thought was, why don't I create a menu on dishes that my mother, my grandmother, my father, who was my dad, God rest his soul, was an amazing cook. My father could make you a bean soup. Brother, there is no one I can't even replicate it, nor can anybody. Okay. My father knew what to do with the raw onion in more ways than you'll ever imagine. Okay. But again, these are the things that really, here's the funny part. I'm not a chef by trade. I've been in the business since I was 15. I've learned a lot of things from a lot of people, but the way my kitchen rolls here is a very kind of motherly example of a kitchen. So what we did was we took 4 or 5 or 6 of these really, really, case in point, the eggplant parmesan, which is a dish that you will never have anywhere in the state. The way I make it, because it's not the way it was my grandmother who made it that way, and my mother made it that way. I have a chicken on the bone dish here that is just different. You want to accustom people into eating differently. That's what, and you know what? That is where we create the experience, because you don't have an experience when you eat the 1300th chicken parm of your life.
Right.
But you have an experience when you eat a piece of chicken on a bone that you've never had in your life. So my thought process was very simple. Throughout the years here in Rhode Island, I've made great connections. These guys, the wine world. I work with a company out of Boston called Pure Italian. He's a gentleman out of Puglia. Fantastic. I mean, the best of the best. And again, and that's the other thing. As I've been here on the Hill, I've learned that, well, why do you have to get the prosciutto that costs $12 a pound? We can get the one that costs $7. Well, then you're going to get a salty byproduct. And again, and these are some of the things that I learned that I wanted nothing to do with. Right. And I learned a lot of things. I learned that marginally it's very hard for a restaurant to make money.
Yeah.
But don't let your pride get into you. We had this discussion the other day. If I let my pride get to me, I'd be out of business right now.
Yeah.
I needed to do something small. I needed to do something pretty. I needed to do something that I get my hands on it from a large perspective. Kitchen, dining, bar, indoor, outdoor, public relations, a lot of it. And it's a really big gamut of what we do here. But more importantly, I go back. When you come in here, or in the next few days when you go out there, the idea is to feel like you're in Italy for just 1 hour, 2 hours. The cocktails. I make 4 cocktails, bro. I don't make any more of those. And I have a cocktail on the menu, which is called Lunarusa, which is a famous Neapolitan song. Okay, and it's got a beautiful moon, a red moon, which is basically a slice of blood orange.
It's a blood orange, or yeah.
These are some of the things that we've adapted in the small short time that we've been here. We've adapted, but bro, if passion doesn't drive it, it's never going to be. And that's really key to me. Like, everything I do is, I've been waiting for this moment. You know what I mean? When I got the opportunity I literally could have been in this situation 9 years ago. And believe me, I plucked and I looked and I went, and it just, nothing ever fit them, because the spot had to fit the mold, and the mold had to fit the area, and everything has to be like one connecting piece. And if it doesn't connect, it just doesn't work.
No, it's an excellent point. It's a very good point. So you opened up like a month before this all started.
I'm the biggest you-know-what in the planet.
Well, you're not alone. I've actually talked to a few people who had an unfortunate timing. Well, you think the beginning of the year is a good time to open a restaurant. It's a little slower, so you get a chance to ease yourself into the world. But then, of course, some things you can't account for, and this is essentially a natural disaster.
I never stopped thinking, man. I've not been, I wish a part of me, and I've said this before. I think the first 2-3 weeks of this, I started to go in a little bit of a depression of it. I think not really the idea of opening or closing or not having the business, but it was more of the idea of getting sick. And then it just kind of, you just get up one morning and say, well, it is what it is. You throw it up to God and you let him handle it. And if you get sick, you get sick. You'll fight. We're all tough. I consider myself a pretty tough human being. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. You just put it for what it is. But at the end of the day, we have to continue to push and do things, because, tomorrow, Wednesday, we got to open again. And I took an opportunity, and, obviously most people won't see the finished product, although you got a chance to see it last night in pictures. Yeah. You just have to keep going, and you got, and you have to keep pushing and pressing. And I think the people that want to be here will be here.
Yeah.
And again, now what part of the business model, I've always said, I think if I make it out of this, I want to write a book, because the model that I picked to do the situation in the middle of a pandemic, and to physically, like I said, I could have opened every day. What's the purpose of me opening every day during this thing for deliveries and pickups? It wouldn't be enough. So, but in 2 days, I get the most that I can out of what I can.
Yeah.
My fan base, quote unquote, my customers and patrons have been more than incredible through this. Gift cards, bottles of wine, food. I have a client who literally bought 15 lasagnas for every one of his clients and had them delivered. I mean, the generosity that the Hill and the area around us have given me. I mean, I've always said it takes a village, and it really does. And every one of us has to make, and at the same time, I'm not people tend to know that I'm very loud and boisterous and obnoxious about certain things. But, the amount of people that have called me and said, Armando, we have families that don't have it. And you know how many lasagnas we've thrown out of here just to give to families? Because it takes a village. And that's important.
Yeah, I mean, and our community is really, wonderful here. I mean, I don't have to tell you that. I'm telling the folks out there. I mean, it's an amazing community of people that want to be supportive and recognize that we have places, not only yours, but hundreds of places around the state that we want to see succeed and survive. Sure. So to be able to do that, but like you said, you have to be able to do what's also smart for you and your business. You can't be in there every day. You can't do, a crazy menu. You're doing as much as you can to stay active and alive. But then, dining back in will change things. And I think, people need to recognize, we kind of had this conversation yesterday, but I think people need to recognize that this is going to be a slow, gradual process. It's not going to be perfect from the get-go, but we're going to get back to what we want to get back to.
And honestly, it's, again, and I joke around, but 4 tables, in our case, it's going to be 4 and then 3 more outside, so 7. The amount of people that are like, and then I'm both. I've had people call me up and say, Armando, we're not really comfortable with this yet. You don't have to be. I've had people who said, Armando, the next 4 Friday nights, I need you to put me in for 5 o'clock. Because again, I think, and, if I'm wrong, jump in, please. But I believe that we've gotten to a point that I think people forgot to have fun. We don't know how the hell to have fun anymore. And I mean, and I joke around with you yesterday about how many more times can you make dinner on camera? Right. No, really, seriously. You're in the business of doing exactly what you do every day. You're on. That means all the relationships that you carry are mostly with hospitality people, restaurants, all these, you're the farm.
Yep.
And you're going to tell me been there and I've been able to do what you've done for the last, the fact that you couldn't put your show together the last month, what do you do? What do you do, man? Your business is no different than mine. And that's the problem. The problem is you have to tell these people, you are allowed to do this. We're going to do it in a state where it's safe for you.
Right.
I mean, hell, I have 9 feet. I was thinking about that last night. I said, when I'm all said and done, when this thing is all over, I can fit more people over there than I can fit in here.
Yeah, good size patio, yeah.
But in the meantime, people can go out, and when the sun's out, they can get some sun in the face. They can do a little of this, because forget sun. Good weather and this it goes hand in hand. Yeah. We were saying the other day, we get all of our cheeses from Italy. Buffalo mozzarella, buffalo burrata, all of our major hard cheeses like Parmigiano, provolone, all the stuff, and I get some funky stuff going through. This is a big deal, because now, there hasn't been a plane that has arrived here with food in over 3 months. So my guys, and I think for us, that is going to be the biggest, I never wanted to open lunches. I thought lunches was a dumb idea from the get-go. Now I think lunches is probably the smartest idea for 2 reasons. Number one, because the sun's out.
Yeah.
And that's going to be your warmest spot of the day for the next month. So you're going, number two, people are working from home, which means they can lunch from home, if you know what I'm saying. Number three, people will come here, have a bottle of wine and a cheese board and go home. And you know what? If that's what makes you feel better, if I can help you in making you feel better that way, you're making me feel better. Because like and we've said this before, but the breakdown of not seeing people, not talking to people, not, being who we are, it's been my biggest downfall for me.
Oh, so yeah, absolutely terrible. No, I know.
It's not even about the finances. I'm honestly believe this. It's not, I've never said it's not for me. For real hospitality people that are in the game every day, it's not about the money. And if they are,
because we don't make any. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
We're surviving. Let's not say that we're, but it's about.
Somebody says it's about the money. You're the dumbest SOB I've ever met. Because real people in this industry do it for the love. And you know it, and I know it, and everybody else knows. We do it for the love, the occasional glass of wine. I miss having a glass of wine with my people. It's tough, sitting down talking about wines and really like you can do it over the computer. It's great, but unless you can smell it, the sun hitting you in the face, it's just the essential parts of it are missing. Yeah,
no, it's absolutely true. The communal aspect of it is suffering greatly, regardless of the technology. And we're all grateful for the technology. That's the nice thing about it. But the communal aspect of it is. Let's talk wine for a minute here, because I know
please.
You've got some great wine experience. You import some yourself.
So I do. I import them through a couple. I have a great guy out of Verona. His name is Nicola Biscardo. Nicola is a winemaker, and also he's a national importer. And basically, what we did about 3 years ago, I kind of jumped on board with him. And so what we do is there's two things that we do. Number one, he brings his wines, plus he brings another 60 families, small vineyard. I'll show you some stuff. I'll put some stuff.
Please.
This is Nicola's Amarone right here. Beautiful. I mean, this is one of his best wines by far. But my big thing is Campania in southern Italy, and we import about 6 or 7 different families from there. And then about a year ago, I got the opportunity to go down to Vitigno Italia, which is the largest wine show in Naples. It's every May. And I do a lot of work with the Italian trade agency out of New York. Again, obviously as an ambassador for the Italian products in America. And we were able to, I jumped on board as a broker with Nicola to find other wineries. And I found my first winery that we're actually bringing in. Hopefully by the time June rolls around, we'll have everything here. But it's a wine out of Pompeii, which is a beautiful wine right in Pompeii. And I started getting, the last couple of years, I started really wondering, because the one Italian type of wine that we don't have in this country is the wine that's made in amphora. Amphora being the clay pots.
Right.
And so this wine was perfect because both the red and the white are actually aged in amphora. And it just has a particularly different flavor. But more importantly, people are really invested in Pompeii. Everyone knows Pompeii. And the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because the first wine not that I brought, but the first wine I made very popular here in Rhode Island was this one. And this is my brand, one of my favorite brands on the planet. This is Mastro Berardino, which is okay. And Mastro Berardino has a wine called Villa dei Misteri, and Villa dei Misteri is basically a wine that is, the grapes grow in the fields, the archaeological place in Pompeii. So where you go in Pompeii and visit all of the tombs and all that jazz, there's a couple of fields there that grow this wine. And this is a blend of Aglianico and Piedirosso, which are the wines of Campania. But this is a great story because you got to think, 25 years ago, the Italian government had this spot and didn't know what the hell to do with it. And so he went to, at the time, Piero's father and said, look, man, we got some spots. You want to grow some grapes out of it, see what happens. Basically, that was the tip of the conversation. So the family started throwing as much as all these different types of grapes to see if they grow. Most people don't realize this, David, but to grow wine on that kind of land where there's so much, volcanic soil,
yeah, sure.
Not every grape takes.
I mean, sure, no, it's very basic. There's not
exactly.
Right.
So now we're talking about this project started 40 years ago in the 1980s. It took them 15 years to find one grape that would grow. And the Piediroso was the grape that grew. Obviously, Piediroso, a grape of Naples, and 90% of Naples is volcanic anyway. So it started growing, and through the years they've been able to add Aglianico to it. They've been able to add Cicinese, which is another small little grape. But we did the cruise last year where we took the Americans out there for, and we took them on this field, and it's just, no, I can't explain it. I mean, folks, this is a wine that, because of the earth, never gets watered. So, you go on the ground, you scrape a little bit of that earth, you pick up the earth is wet. So this literally twice a year, it gets watered literally with a hose, and that's it. And these are the particularities of stuff that I like. You're never going to have me talk to you about a Chianti because there's no need. But then, then I started connecting with all these groups. I'll get the gentleman that has this little tiny winer company here in the States that can't sell wine to anybody, because you know how it is in Rhode Island. If you're the big guy, everybody comes in. If you're the small turd, no one wants to talk to. I'm the opposite way. As much as I love hanging out with Ian all day long, okay, I know what Ian has. If I need something, I just call Ian and get it. It's pretty simple. With these guys, they're gunning down because they want to find the new product.
Yeah. So
I have a guy by the name of Richard who owns a small little place called Fox Point Importers. They're a small little place out of Massachusetts. And he works with an Italian guy who, ironically enough, is a friend of Nicola's. And so we got a connection. So last month, with all this thing happening, I hadn't seen him. He comes in. He says, "Hey," because I got a wine I want you to try. By the way, this is your bottle. It's still here. It's still sitting here.
Oh, you did? You said you were going to give me – all right, good.
It's still sitting here.
Thank you.
Okay, so you see this thing? Okay?
Yeah.
So this is a bottle called Le Argile, okay? It is a 50% Cabernet, 50% Cab Franc. Okay? It comes from Veneto, which is Verona, Venice, that area. Here's the catch. I've never heard of Chianti. I've never heard of Cab growing in Verona, but whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't think of one off the top of my head.
That's the first. So I'm like, okay, I can live with that. If you see the bottle, basically it's a glass bottle that it's been coated in cement. Okay? So this is what they do. They basically, they hold the Cab grapes a little bit longer. And then what they do is they clip them off the top so the grapes don't get touched. Most people don't realize it, but if you touch the grapes, you can, they just clip them, they make it fall. And then what they do after they press the wine, they literally sit the wine in cement. Now, if you've never seen a cement, what do you call it? For lack of better terminology, it looks like a giant udder.
Yeah.
Okay. Huge. It starts on the ceiling, it falls to the floor. It looks like a giant cow udder, and it's one of the most incredible things. But most people don't realize this because cement is somewhat porous. Okay. Right. It allows oxygen to kind of like it go in and out. And what's really cool about this wine is I think you're probably a good California drinker. I would assume you like your California Cab.
Some.
But if you like your California Cab, you tend to get like that jammy, that overly luscious, a ton of legs on the glass. You pour this in the bottle, in the glass, and it's purple. It's straight Cab. And you're like, holy crap, it's straight Cab. And then you drink it. And that's where the magic happens. It becomes completely airy. It's lighter. It's just very lots of heavy fruit notes. But again, because of the way it sits in the cement, it kind of really recreates. And it really gives you the concept of drinking this, an Amarone. So in a way, it's a very funky bottle. And the best part about this bottle is that this is it's a 14. Okay, because so you're looking at a 6-year-old wine.
Yep.
This is not. It's a game changer for me because we've been selling this right now in the midst of this whole situation for $33. If you go down the street at the liquor store, it's $75. Only because, again, once the
we don't make money around here, is that?
No. Once the hit the fan, they were trying to unload all these bottles.
Mm-hmm.
And again, relationships carry, and I have a great relationship with Rich, and we wanted to grab these, and we grabbed as many as we could for that price because they were getting them. And again, I've said this before. I firmly believe, and anytime you come in here to have wine, I firmly believe that the consumer, okay, if the consumer gets ripped off drinking wine, the consumer gets turned off by drinking wine.
Sure.
And that's something I do not do. My bottles,
Very
my
true.
good stuff doesn't go over $90. You can't make it go over that much. First of all, if I go to a restaurant, I've said this before. I've gone to a restaurant and ordered the same bottle. My restaurant is $50 at $90. I ain't drinking. I think you're gouging the customer. Let's be honest. Okay, you can make money on wine. Okay, you can make money on wine.
Exactly. There's different ways, and there's means. I mean, you
know what I mean.
Yeah.
But you want to and again, what is my purpose of selling? Like, this bottle sells itself. Your eyes went.
Yeah. No, it's very. Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? And so again, like when we return back to the days of drinking outside, this bottle will be $60 here, which is still a great deal. You know what I mean? And all of my bottles here can be drank by the glass because we just use a Coravin for it. So you can always get a sip of something new. But again, these are some of the exciting stuff. This is what makes me kind of tick. Otherwise, my job would be absolutely positively boring. You know what I mean? It would be absolutely boring. So, and then the other part
it would never be boring. It just would be interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. The other part of the wine that I want to just kind of like hint, we are moving into summer.
Yep.
Okay. And I just showed you 3 red wines. I did that because most people are bound to reds. But folks, you got to start drinking something different. You got to start drinking rosés. Okay. Right now, we are in the prime aspect of rosés. We're literally starting to get all of the new vintages in rosés. Yep. I carry something called the Ramato, which is a Pinot Grigio done in basically you just sit the skin in with the grapes a little longer, and it comes almost orange in color. Very cool wine. And then whites, man. Whites.
Well, I was going to say, there's very few things better with Italian food than Italian whites. I mean, Italian whites in food, it's just, Vernacchia, Falangina.
There's
all these grapes I can name from different parts of the whole boot. It's fantastic.
So this right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is called Biancole. Okay, Biancole is a indigenous grape of Ischia. Ischia is a small little, well, it's not small, but it's the island next to Capri. So Capri has its own island. Ischia is its own. Ischia is known for one thing, rabbit. Okay, rabbit is Ischia, and seafood. 2 perfect things that go with the white.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful label, beautiful bottle. Whites to me, like people say, the real wine drinkers are red, or only drink red. That's such a
absolutely not true.
Far slide. The wine drinkers and the sparkling. I mean, the stuff that we, again, every day counts for a different kind of wine.
Yeah.
And I always get the challenge, like when you come here, especially, and there's a lot of places in Rhode Island that there are people there that know their wines by any means.
Oh yeah.
But go and ask, and you know what, and I've always said, tell the person at the restaurant, folks, say, listen, I don't want your run of the mill. Okay, I call it the J. Lord mentality. Get off the J. Lord, get off the Santa Margarita.
Oh, don't say the Santa word. Don't.
Jump into something, get off the Mianetto. Jump into something more particular. We brought in Lungarotti makes a sparkling rosé. Okay, I'm the only one in the country that has it. I'm the only one who brought it in. Okay, it's a 50-50, 50 Pinot, 50 Sangiovese. Okay, it's a phenomenal sparkling wine. Man, let me tell you, I've kept them in the market in the United States alone. Why? Because it's a hell of a wine. It had nothing to do with me. All I gotta do is shove it in your glass. Once you like, it's the one sparkling wine that you can eat anything with it. So again, especially if you're gonna start reassuming that we're gonna be outside in the summer with the sun, start drinking whites, people, whites.
No, I had a Vermentino the other day, a Bulgari, just fantastic. I did a whole sea bass with it. It was just spectacular.
And quite honestly, like I know people are gonna, first of all, it's summer. If you're eating red meat in the summer outside of like your burger, and then again, if you're gonna have a burger, yes, you can drink wine with a burger. Right. But at that point, that thing that you've been sipping on for the last 20 minutes is probably a whole lot better. Don't tell me it's orange juice in a beer glass because I won't believe you.
This is nice coffee.
Yeah, orange. Yeah. Hi, neighbor.
Yeah,
and I'm drinking vodka and cranberry early in the morning, right? But no, but like again, like if you're going to the summer foods call for white wines and rosés and sparklings.
Absolutely.
More importantly, who in the hell wants to drink a red wine when it's 90 degrees outside?
Yeah.
It doesn't match the concept. So, and again, and experiment. I've always said experiment. If you get anything out of this, you want to experiment what you're drinking because quite frankly, I get bored drinking the same old crap every day.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't often repeat. I mean, I certainly have. I'll buy cases of more inexpensive wine that I'll have, during the week, here and there. But no, I like variety. I want to try new things. I want to taste new things. I want to see see what's out there. That's the beauty of wine.
And let me make one more thing clear, David, because I think this is the one thing. Every bottle I showed you today, small producers.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing. The whole thing now is let's help out our own, right? Let's stay local. Let's do this. Let's do that. But let's be honest. If you like Italian wines, you're going to stick with Italian wines. You're not going to. Guys, find the small producers who's making 30,000 bottles instead of 3 million. Santa Margherita is going to be fine whether you buy a bottle or not. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And also let me just kind of like clear the air on Santa Margherita for just a quick second because I know your hair is falling off the follicles. Santa Margherita calls it's Pinot Grigio, but you have to understand territory, and that's what most people when they pick up a bottle they don't give a damn. And I don't mean that rudely; they just don't care.
Oh,
they're like, "Hey, it's wine."
Yeah, and that's certainly valid for a certain person. Yeah.
But I mean, like, let's be honest: the mom with 4 kids who just wants to relax after a long day isn't going, "Hey," But the truth is if you read the labels closely, you stare at a couple of things. Number one, this one has it, I think. Yeah. This little tag right here. Mm-hmm. This is the Italian government stamp of approval that reads exactly. If it's a DOC or a DOCG, it basically tells it's coming from the specific spot. This is from Verona, Valpolicella, and that's where it comes from. And that's just kind of like its passport. It's telling you that. Most people know that. It's a pretty simple thing.
Yeah.
But now you start getting to like a Santa Margherita. Santa Margherita says it's a Pinot Grigio. Consistently, it is a Pinot Grigio. But what you don't understand is the Pinot Grigio grape isn't coming from the land that Santa Margherita owns. It's being picked up from other places because they become a conglomerate. They just become so damn big. And let me make something very clear. Santa Margherita is good at one thing. Selling the product because they can sell it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
They can sell it like there's nobody. You know what I mean? And even like companies like Mianetto, the sparkling, and La Marca is fantastic. La Marca figured out, hey, Tiffany, let's package their bottle like a Tiffany bag. Women will buy it, and it's true. People here, and it's who drinks Prosecco. More likely females than David when he's upset. But I'm gonna drink Prosecco.
I can't remember the last time I had Prosecco. Cava, though. I love a good cava.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is stick to something small. Okay? And here's the thing. I go back. If you go to your wine shop, I use Gasparo up here. And you say, listen, I don't want a big brand. I want something small. A small producer. They'll find you small producers. And they'll say, my wine, a lot of my wine is being sold in North Kingstown, in Cranston. You just ask me, I'll let you know. Actually, I think we're still in the process of, you can buy a couple bottles from the restaurants now.
Yep.
Now that hasn't gone, it won't go away for a while. So you can buy any of my bottles. And I've always say, if you're taking them out, I've always give you a price of what you would pay at a liquor store. You know what I mean? We're not charging you restaurant prices for that. But again, get to know your winemakers. Get to know them. Look them up on Facebook. Look them up on Instagram. See what they're doing. See how they're doing it. This guy, Metzella, literally before this whole thing went down, this gentleman by February doesn't have an ounce of wine from the year before. He sells everything. I mean, there's not enough. They're making literally 35,000 bottles of this, and his mass production goes to Naples and in America, and that's it. So feel free. I mean, I've always said, feel free. If most people, want to look at go buy chicken and say, well, I want free range. I want to make sure that my chicken comes from this, and but you should really look at if you're a wine drinker and you drink a bottle or two a week, and that's not an excessive amount, a bottle or two a week, okay? But if you drink a bottle or two a week, start doing your homework and start asking people. If you're in Rhode Island, ask somebody like David, ask someone like me, ask the Ians of the world. I mean, hell, Ian has more. The amount of wine knowledge that kid bears in his head is insanity. I that whole clan that you met with the other night, I too bad I couldn't watch it. I was working, but those three truly know a ton about wine. Filer as well. I mean, and there's so many of us that, and that's the part of the wine people that most people don't think. They think we're snobs, but we're always open to talk about wines with people, always, because it's such a great, like, and again, I will leave this conversation with this. I got the opportunity about 5 years ago. No, maybe more. It was about 6 years ago. I went down to a wine show at the time with Winebow, and Winebow at the time was owned by Leonardo Lacascio. Okay, if you've probably seen it in the back of some bottles, it says LLS. Zenato has it. Mastro has it. Yeah. So I go. Yeah. Oh, I mean, this man was an innovator, Sicilian born.
Lynch, yeah, certain names. Yeah, great wines.
Yeah, and so this was the year that he was leaving. So I got there with the Mastro guys. I got there with a bunch of different guys. And somehow, David, I ended up at dinner with these four guys. It was the export manager for Mastro, was the export manager for Chris, which is a winery north of Italy. Northern Italy, they do some whites, they do some reds. And then I was at the table with, at the time, a great gentleman by the name of Nunzio Castaldo, who was the number two at Winebow, and now he's in New York and does his own thing. And then, so we're just having dinner, and the three of us were Neapolitans, and we're just chatting away. We're at a steakhouse on 7th Avenue. Don't even ask me what the name was. Drinking Mastro Berardino, eating steak. Out of nowhere, Leonardo walks in. Now, mind you, I'm talking, Leonardo's in his 80s right now, so maybe mid-70s, wearing pink pants, because he's a Floridian, dark tan in May. It's great. So he comes in, he sits down, he's looking at me, and I got to admit, I mean, I wasn't particularly, like, into the wine world as I am today. I was just kind of getting started. And he sits down right next to me, and he's like, "How'd you get to this table?" I said, I looked at him, I go, "I have no idea," right? I'm eating. And he says, "No, really." I said, "Well," I said, I run a little restaurant in Rhode Island. I said, "Let me ask you a question." I said, how many labels do most of your big restaurants have in the country?" And he's like, 4 or 5. I said, "Well, I have like 18. And so Nuncio's across kind of giggling to himself because he knows that make a long story short, he's like, "Okay, guys, after dinner, you guys are coming for a glass of wine at my place." So we get in, we get out. We're walking. We're talking. Leonardo's leading the way. And we walk into this building. We get into the elevator. The elevator goes up to the 23rd floor. The doors open into this dude's living room, and I literally pissed myself. I was like, Like I thought there was only in movies that happened. I didn't know in real life.
I've been places in New York like that. Yeah, it's nuts.
Right? So opens up and he takes us out to the balcony. Literally, the balcony overlooks the entire Central Park.
Wow.
Okay. Now I'm feeling like Rick Moranis in Ghostbusters. You remember the top of the building? I'm like, all right. So he pulls me aside. He goes, you know so much about my wines, huh? And he clicks. We walk into his kitchen. It's pitch dark. He clicks the light. And when I tell you, the kitchen had, you know, the big giant standing fridges, the big ones?
Yeah.
He had 9 of them lined up.
9.
Wow. It went around the room. Bright orange, so I couldn't miss them. Every one of them had wine bottles like imploding out of the glass. Like you could see bottles like this sitting on top of each other. Like, and I look at him, I go, what do you want me to do? He goes, you are gonna pick the wines, bro. You want to feel this small? Yeah. I was like, what do you mean I'm picking the wine? And they're all, the 4 of them are all standing outside looking at me, giggling, right? So we started out, it was like 9 o'clock when this whole started. I think we got done around 3:30 in the morning. Bottles of 1970 Bordeaux.
Wow.
We had a Rioja, a Rioja from 85, probably one of the best bottles of wine I've ever had. We were drinking, we drank a Brunello from like 1960 something. Then he jumped into ports, started drinking a port. His first port that he got 100 points from Robert Parker, 1982, right? Yeah. So we're drinking all these bottles of wine. Literally by 2 o'clock, we're all drunk, opening up this dude's kitchen counters, finding like nuts and cookies and whatever can get our hands on. And I pulled him aside throughout the night and I said to him, why? So why are you doing this? And he looked at me, he said, I'm 80 years old. He goes, if I don't drink this stuff now, what's going to happen? He goes, remember one thing. He goes, remember, and he goes, if you learn anything out of this night, this is what you learn. This thing right here, wine, is the only thing on the planet that is enjoyed more to be shared than it is to be drank alone.
Yep.
And I do not drink a glass of wine by myself. I will not do it.
I agree completely. Even if it's just me and my wife, I want her to enjoy it too. And
people don't realize this. Why? And again, because most people think it's just, it's just alcohol. No, there's so much love and there's so much passion and devotion in creating. I mean, these winemakers, really, I mean, people don't realize this. They're on, they're the hottest time of the year in Italy is when these guys are out there plucking these grapes. And don't think the winemaker's not plucking grapes. That winemaker's sitting out there every day, and he'll go out, and if the grape's growing this way and he wants it grown this way, then he'll take every and put. Dude, there is a love and devotion behind every bottle of wine that is unimaginable. Awesome. And that's where I think like most people, I hope that if whoever's watching says the next time they pick up a bottle, they can at least say to themselves, let me just kind of like, you know what I mean? Because, and I've always said this, the reason why I don't ever jump into the Somm world is not because it's because at the end of the day, I have personal relationships with everybody. I know these guys. I know the mom. I know the dad. I know the grandma. I know what they stand for. Nicola Nicola's at my wedding. Okay. He was at my honeymoon. Like, this is like, you know what I'm saying? We were all at a resort dancing 2 months before this pandemic hit, for the love of God. You know what I mean? Like, and that's, this, what's his face? He called me 3 months ago. He was in China. You know what I mean? And now, this is how the world revolves, and this is how the wine world revolves. Yeah. And the best thing you can do is have these relationships, let alone when, the generosity from these guys. Anytime you go to Italy is, dinners,
and they welcome you into their vineyards, into their homes, open arms. They want to show it off. They want to explain everything. They want you to try everything. Yeah, I know. I've eaten it when we were in Italy 6 years ago. Do you know Tremonti wines?
Sure.
Yeah. So we ate dinner in his home on his grandmother's china. I mean, it was lunch. It was just spectacular. It was, yeah. I mean,
I was in one of my great wine that hopefully you'll get an opportunity to try I have two wines from a gentleman by the name of Salvatore Martuscello. Salvatore Martuscello is a very special guy to me because Salvatore is the creator. His family created the Gragnano DOC. Gragnano is a wine specifically from Naples. It's that wine we talked about it the night you were here. It's that chilled wine. It's a red, kind of like a Lambrusco. It's served cold, kind of a blend of a lot. And here's the best part. Salvatore, they owned in the 80s one of the largest wineries in Naples. And then something happened. A lot of bad decisions were made in the family. So Salvatore got out. And then Salvatore, years later, had a little bit of that property left and said, you know what, I'm going to make wines on my own in a much smaller. So I met Salvatore about 3 years ago at Vinitaly. Loved what he was about. But more importantly, I believe he's probably one of the few. And you've met some winemakers from Italy. They all tend to be different. You go to Piero. Piero's a professor. I mean, listen, you don't raise your voice to Piero. You don't joke around with Piero. But Piero is the professor. The shit you learn from Piero, you will never learn it from anybody. But Salvatore is kind of like the poet. And if you know anything about Naples and anything about Neapolitans, we are the warmest and most generous and so I go to the wine show in Naples last year, busy as hell. We all have like literally every hour of the day is programmed. So I basically had to beg the ITA to let me out to go have dinner with this man because I do so much work with him. And he's the last night of the show. He says, hey, meet me outside. He has his wife finish up the job. Him and I get in the car. We start driving through Naples like a movie. Like this, everybody's swagging and dodging. And he brings me to this little place right near the train station in Naples. It's a mom and pop place, very much like this. And he sits down with me and we're talking and he says to me, I'll try to do this without tearing up, but he says to me, he goes, we owe you an apology. And I look around, I'm like, who's we? And he says, the Neapolitans owe you an apology. Every Neapolitan that left this country because we allowed you to leave and went to another country and represent what we are, you deserve their highest, most, because, but that's what I'm talking about. Like, I looked at him and I was like, dude, you don't have to apologize. This is what we do. I didn't wake up one day and said, I'm going to pray. This is just what we're accustomed to. And this is, and again, and I say this wholeheartedly, again, when somebody picks up a bottle, no one realizes what's behind it. No different than, your folks at the farm, when they're doing what they're doing. We all have a love and a passion.
Right.
But I think as consumers today, you have the opportunity to use the people that know what it's about. And at least you feel more comfortable having knowingly knowing the story behind a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't need the story behind a ribeye. I mean, maybe you do, but I don't. You know what I mean? But a bottle of wine, you know what I mean? And it's amazing. And this is kind of like, again, this is going full throttle from the beginning, but this is what coming to Bacco is, or this is what it is to have a conversation with me about food and wine and culture and because at the end of the day, dude, after that, the last 2 months have shown to us what life without any of this really is all about.
Absolutely. Right.
Very
well said. Thank you. Well, we're nearing the end of the hour, so let me hit you with my questionnaire, lightning round.
Go for it.
You ready for this? All right. What is your favorite word?
Napoli.
What is your least favorite word?
Arrogance.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Food.
What turns you off?
Ugly people.
What is your favorite curse word?
You want me to say it?
Yeah.
This is a good one. Listen, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with an old Italian one, vaffanculo, because it always comes out of my mouth one way or another. Vaffanculo, and then I'll do it in the Neapolitan. I'll do it in the Italian. You do it in a broken American.
A while, Armando. That's great. I used to.
Vaffanculo.
I grew up in Cranston, so I would hear it all the time, but I haven't heard that in a while. That's great. What sound or noise do you love?
The sound of the pan when you put something on it, when that garlic hits the oil, the hot oil, the sizzle. I love it.
That's great. That's great. What sound or noise do you hate?
My dog whining in the cage in the middle of the night.
What's your favorite ingredient or flavor?
Olive oil. Olive oil is sexy, dude. It's a sexy thing.
Oh yeah. I'll tell a little story quick. When I visited my friend's family in Itri, which is a little village about halfway south of Rome. This was
known for olives, right? Mind you.
So that's
olives.
It. So it was 97. We came home from the bar at like 2 a.m., walk into the house, and on the counter in the kitchen was this bottle of, you want to talk fluorescent green. It's just so bright green. And I saw it, and I was like, oh my God, is that just, they did that today? And they're like, yeah, a few hours ago. And there was a loaf of bread, and I just took a piece of bread, and I poured the olive oil on it, and I ate it. And my friend who lives there, grew up there in the house, he's like, what are you, crazy? It's just olive oil. And I was like, no, this is gold. This is the greatest thing I've had. And I remember that. That was 23 years ago, and I remember eating that olive oil. Yeah, nothing like it. Fresh.
Nothing. Olive oil is olive oil, definitely.
Yeah. So what's your least favorite ingredient?
Ricotta.
Really?
I find, and I'll tell you why. Americans have ruined ricotta for me. I use it. Don't get me wrong. I use it. But Americans do not understand.
Have you?
And I'll be very. Go ahead.
Get creamy ricotta.
No. Don't wait. Let me frame this.
I'm not a big fan of it either, but I like theirs.
I also like their smoked cheese that they have. Mm-hmm. The kind of like the dry mozzarella that's a smoke. But to me, it's not. Okay, so it's just simple. If you ever have my lasagna, okay, you don't glob ricotta. You dollop ricotta.
Yeah, right.
So on the layer of lasagna, you don't drench the shit out of it. You just go, because ricotta melts and pounds. So when you get too much ricotta, it's like like cottage cheese.
Yeah.
It just doesn't fit for me.
I agree with
you. But again, just because I don't like using it doesn't mean I don't like eating it.
No,
There's no cheese I won't eat.
Yeah, right. All right. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Obviously, other than my own, I would probably say I would love to be a winemaker. I really would. I would love to learn the parts of being a winemaker. I'd also think, honestly, would love to write. I think writing there's a specific thing about writing that really allows people to be free.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I love to write. I wish I could make a living at it, but yeah, no, it's wonderful. Yeah. What profession would you not like to do?
I wouldn't want to be a cop, man.
Yeah.
I just, today, there's certain jobs that you wouldn't want to do, and being a police officer is one of them.
Oh, yeah. And then, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Let's have a glass of wine.
Excellent.
I want to sit down with God, and I want to sit down with, and if you don't know who he is, look him up. I want to sit down with Totò. Totò is one of the greatest Neapolitan comedians of all time. And he writes this poem. It's called Alivella. Look it up. And La Livella is a level. And it basically talks about the fact that when we're dead, no matter how rich or how poor you were, we're all on the same level, brother. Yeah. So at the end of the day, a glass of wine with God and Totò make it perfect.
I love it. Well, Armando, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today.
My pleasure.
Luck. Everyone should check out Bacco on Facebook and Instagram, and they'll be open back up for dining next week. So check them out. Thanks very much for your time. It's been a great conversation. I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you. My pleasure, David.
Take care.
Ciao.